Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is another Spider-Man the Animated Series review and I hope you enjoy. And happy hashtag Spider-Man Sunday. And also happy Father's Day. I don't know what to do except what I want to do on Father's Day, which is to continue to review Spider-Man the Animated Series and to episode 6, Dr. Octopus Armed and Dangerous. To me, Dr. Octopus is the big daddy of all the Spider-Man villains. This is the introduction to Dr. Octopus on this show, and Dr. Octopus has broken into Felicia Hardy's mansion and kidnapped her. He seems like a horror creature and treated as such. We get then J. Jonah Jameson going live on TV to ask Dr. Octopus for the ransom, but instead he goes off on Octavius and Otto demands for Jameson to deliver it himself. When Jameson arrives with Spider-Man following, Dr. Octopus grabs Jameson and then Spider-Man comes in and does better against Dr. Octopus than in the first Doc Ock comic. But Spidey still loses and gets thrown out the window. Now Dr. Octopus demands for twice the money. We learn that Dr. Otto Octavius used to be a teacher at Peter Parker at summer science camp. Doc taught Pete a valuable lesson about mistakes. He was completely different than he is today. What happened to him? The explosion in his lab must have drove him crazy. Before, he was almost like another Uncle Ben. I really like this in the story. We get more history with Peter Parker and Dr. Octopus. Pete volunteers to deliver the ransom, and when he does, he decides to strike up a conversation with Otto about science. This is where we learn that the explosion fused Dr. Octopus's tentacles to his body. Even Parker didn't deserve that. I love that Jameson says that after Dr. Octopus drops Pete out a window. And now it's up to Spidey to save Felicia and John and stop Dr. Octopus. First off, this is a perfect Dr. Octopus costume for a cartoon show, the best we've ever had. If we get him in a movie again, I hope the costume references this somehow. This was the best Dr. Octopus outside the comics we got, and I think it's still the best we've gotten. In this, he's not a fat man, but just a normal guy with metal arms, like how he was in issue 3. This is the first time in this show the line, "Sacrifices must be made," is said by Dr. Octopus to Jameson about Felicia's safety. This line comes up with the Kingpin later in the show. It's a memorable line and shows how close these two are to the edge. There's a scene where Robbie Robertson questions if Spider-Man really is doing what he does for the city for good. Spider-Man says Robbie disbelieving in him hurts more than what Doc Ock could ever do. In this show, Robbie is always on Spider-Man's side, and whenever he questions it, Pete gives himself a good questioning also. This episode definitely had the funniest Spider-Man comebacks. Like when Doc Ock says, "You really think your spider powers could stand a match against my tentacles?" Spidey responds with, "It was a thought." Or when Ock says, "Spider-Man, you're making a career of interference, some career, no salary, no vacation, and talk about on-the-job health hazards." It also showed us the improved relationship between Pete and Felicia, at least before Doc Ock arrives. Doc Ock here reminds me of the Ultimate Comics Doc Ock, even though that happens almost a decade later. I like how in the past, Dr. Octopus was always put down and no one understood him, like Peter Parker in school, except it was harder for him because he was in the real world, and just when someone gives him a break, that break is what destroys his career and body. It's sympathetic if you ask me. Also, it's the first time we see a confirmation that the villain of the episode will return. You could say that with Alistair Smythe, but that was a two-part episode, so it was pretty obvious. This gets an 8 out of 10. I really liked it, but they could have done a lot more, especially between Doc Ock and Spider-Man and the other characters. But now we are one episode away from finishing Spider-Man the Animated Series Season 1. It's very exciting. And with all that said, bye guys, and have a good day.